Hey guys, this is Kenny from LearnHowToProsper.com, and I wanted to share with you for a minute just a few thoughts I've been having about reality. Okay, now there are all different types of realities. There are hyper realities, there are false realities, and I guess you could even question what reality truly is for us. And in order to illustrate what I mean when I'm talking about this, is I want to share with you one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm sharing here on my screen some pictures of Luke and Leia in Star Wars. Now, when the original Star Wars came out, I was 13 years old, and there really was nothing like this back in those times. So when this movie released, it absolutely, it just blew me away. To this day, I remember exactly where I was sitting in the theater. I remember how I felt. I remember what the weather was like outside that day. It was that kind of a powerful experience, and I've reflected many times about the power of a movie. Now, there's something about what I recall from Star Wars is that and I think this is true for all of us, is that we really identify with someone in the plot, right? So most often I think we identify with the hero. There might be a few villains out there, but I think for the most part we identify with the hero, the protagonist of a story. And I was really taken with Luke Skywalker, and I really saw myself in that role. I mean, I think we all do that when we watch movies, whether we know it or not. But it was such a powerful effect that I remember that even after I got home, my mind continued to be caught up in this idea of how fantastic it felt to be that hero, to overcome the dark force and to prevail. And isn't it fascinating that a movie which is completely fake, right? I mean, these are actors. I mean, none of this really happened, and yet at the end of the movie, people applauded. They stood up and they cheered, and there were people who were emotional. I've been to other movies. I myself have been to movies where I was so emotional that I cried. I tried to keep it not so evident, because I guess that's what we have to do as men. But I really have had a full range of emotions, from fear to elation. I've been to movies where I felt all of the full breadth of emotions. And why is that? Why is it that something that is fake and completely contrived can elicit such a powerful response in us as humans? And then I've thought, if something that is fake can elicit such a strong emotional response, what else out there can create an emotional response or actually impact our behavior and the way that we think and even the way that we act? And I think that it's pretty sobering to realize that commercials and marketing and certain ad copy and TV and media, all these things can create a reality in us. It can make our day. Here's another one that blows me away. Athletics. So you have these two teams, they come together, they go to compete, and the fact of the matter is there's not really anything in that that has any bearing on my life at all. Now, if a child is participating, that's a different level of interest. But sports, athletics are another thing that are a type of false reality, a type of hyper reality that don't really reflect, don't need to reflect anything. I know people that have fallen into depressions. There's all kinds of strange things that happen off of just a contrived event. So what does that mean for us and our day-to-day happiness? I have a blog over at LearnHowToProsper.com, and I like to explore different thoughts and topics related to health, wealth, and relationships. And when it comes to health, especially our mental health and our emotional health, one thing that I've come to realize is that in the same way that other outside forces can create a reality, you can create your own reality. A reality that, in the same way that a movie has you feeling elated and happy, you can do the exact same thing by controlling and impacting and affecting the thoughts that you have and the emotions that you feel. And those can then impact the different behaviors and actions that we take. And so it's so important to maintain an affect or a mental posture of positivity and happiness, because that impacts then what we do throughout the rest of the day, and then it's a cycle, right? If you create within your mental frame and emotional frame a powerful, positive emotional response each day before you start, then you can carry that throughout the rest of your day. And it's a choice. It's 100% within your individual and my individual capacity to choose what reality we will create. I think you could argue that a lot of what we create in the way of reality is a negative reality, and it's make-believe. It doesn't even have to exist that way. And even when there are difficult or challenging things in our lives, a loved one has passed away, or we lost a job, we're in debt, learned some health difficulty in our life, it's possible still, even with those very real things happening, to establish a mental and emotional framework that is based on the reality that you choose. Right? You can choose that. And I've really, over the last few years, I strive to be very aware of the emotional and mental reality that I am creating. And I say me because if it's something outside of me, then that means I'm a victim. That means that I have to rely upon all these outside and external forces to determine my happiness. And that is a very vulnerable and miserable place to be, because it's just a fact that most people are caught up, me included, in our own lives. And so we aren't necessarily always thinking about how we can make someone else's reality, super positive and effective. So I wanted to just share some of those thoughts. And next time you watch a movie, I want you to really evaluate the impact that it's having upon you, or even when you're watching a commercial or watching the news, for example. I actually don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news in decades, because a lot of that is manufactured in a way to create a sense of fear and scarcity, so that it can compel you to watch more, and they can elicit certain behaviors. And I'm like, you know what? If I want to understand and learn more about the news, I'll go scan the headlines, and I'll do that in a mindset of my own positive reality, and not let someone else determine and impact the way that I want to look at the world. Now, that doesn't mean that we can stick our heads in the sand per se and ignore what's happening out there. I think we should be educated and we should be knowledgeable. But the most important thing that we can do to influence our effectiveness is to ensure that we are at the steering wheel of our own emotional health, right? We can individually choose each day. And I'll probably talk about this more in future blogs and vlogs, but think of it this way. It's 100% within your capacity each morning as you wake up to make the choice to do a few things that will really enhance your reality. So to take a few minutes to meditate, to pray, is very important. It's very important to immediately apply some mental discipline and eliminate negative thoughts. And I always think about the day, and I take just a minute to evaluate the way my day is going to go. I do that in advance. I visualize it. It only takes like 30 seconds. I look at my schedule, and I kind of look through my day, And if there's something that I'm dreading, I try to evaluate, why am I dreading that? What reality, what have I created in my mental or emotional frame that is eliciting that kind of feeling? And most of the time, probably I would say 100% of the time, it's just what I am assigning to it, right? I've assigned some kind of angst to it. So I take just a minute to eliminate that angst, and then when I approach that event throughout the day, I do it with positivity, and then I can impact the outcome of most everything in a positive way. And that's a much better way to live. And there is no prosperity greater than the prosperity of well-being that we can cultivate through the way that we think and the reality that we create. Well, if this was helpful to you, I hope that you'll join me on my journey over at learnhowtoprosper.com, and look forward to sharing some other helpful things. One thing that I've realized is that and this is my feeling, that we are created to create, to share, to provide something outside of ourselves. So that's really the purpose of my blog, is to share helpful things in a way to become more effective in the way I articulate certain things, but also to provide some value out there. And so I hope that that's exactly what I've done. And if so, I'd love it if you'd let me know, or let me know in what ways I could do that for you or for others. And so you can enter that in the comments below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're over at my blog, you can enter it in the comments below this section. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Go make it a fantastic day. I mean, it really is up to you. You create the reality. All right, with that, I'm going to sign off. Have a great day. Go make it a great day.